So what would drive someone to take these drastic actions? To get you some more perspective on what could create the kind of conditions for this kind of situation, I asked a psychologist, Dr. Peggy Mustellier, to watch our coverage of the story on fox4now.com and give us her take. When you see this story, I know you're not directly connected to it, but what do you see in the big picture? Does it remind you of things you've seen before?
These things do not occur in isolation, and it's usually on a continuum, and it usually escalates more and more to the point of murder.
But then to put children in jeopardy by barricading himself inside with the children, I think most people look at that as like, wait a second, is there any limit for this person?
Yeah. I was wondering that myself. It's almost as if they're a human shield. That was the sense I had. When I heard of situations kind of similar in some of my work in the past, usually involved the use of drugs or something that disinhibited the person further. And as it is, very often there is poor impulse control in these situations.
Is that as shocking as it seems, or do we often see children caught up in these situations?
Sadly, one way or another, where there's a family, obviously, with their children involved, one way or another, they are impacted.
What do you think's happening here, where we see these situations where someone's harmed or even killed, children are involved, and then are barricaded inside the home and having to be talked out? What's the bigger picture of seeing more and more of this?
A really interesting question. Hadn't thought of it, and yet it makes perfect sense. We've been under a lot of stress, and there's certain things that you start to observe when societies are in stress. In this case, being in having a pandemic.
Just a reminder, domestic violence, and we have had more calls since the start of the pandemic, can be verbal, can be mental, physical, even financial abuse. If you or someone you know feels trapped, please type in fox4now.com right now on your computer or mobile device. You can get the local resources you need right now to get you and your kids to safety.